So, good evening, friends. This is Dr. Vineet Sehgal, and in the Extra Edge in Ophthalmology series, today we would talk about the corneal transplant. So, first of all, what is the indication of doing a corneal transplant? So, let's say if you are a person and you are having a corneal opacity, and this corneal opacity is basically hampering the vision that goes inside. Okay, so the visual impairment in the eye having a corneal opacity. Okay, this is the indication. Remember a very important thing that this patient should have a good visual potential. So let's say if the patient has corneal opacity, but the patient has a retinal detachment also, per se, or the patient is having an optic atrophy also, so that even after changing the cornea, we may not get a very good vision. So these patients are not ideal candidates for corneal transplant. Now, this is how a corneal transplant looks like. If you can see in this picture, this is this central part. Okay, this is the donor cornea. Okay, so the central part, which is the transparent, this is the donor cornea. Its diameter, okay, its diameter may range up to 7 to 8 millimeter. Remember, the diameter of cornea is usually around 11.2 to 11.5 millimeter. And this portion, if you can appreciate, this portion which is in the periphery, this portion is the host cornea. Okay, so it does not mean that if you replace your donor cornea, then your host cornea would be totally replaced. So the peripheral host cornea remains there, and the central part where the opacity is, that is replaced. Okay, so this is a clinical picture of penetrating keratoplasty. Okay, now what are the different types of corneal transplant? Okay, so first is full thickness corneal transplant. So what is full thickness corneal transplant? So we remove the whole part of cornea. Okay, so let's say this is my cornea, these are my 5 layers. So if I remove the full part of the cornea and replace it with a new cornea, okay, totally all new cornea is placed. Okay, so all the layers of the donor cornea are now replacing the host cornea. This is called full thickness corneal transplant. Remember, one more question they ask is, what is these sutures used? Okay, so the type of sutures. So remember, in the cases we use 10-0 monofilament nylon sutures. Okay, 10-0 monofilament nylon sutures to basically put the donor cornea in place and suture it with the host cornea. Okay, now the types of corneal transplant can be anterior lamellar corneal transplant or posterior lamellar corneal transplant. So first of all is, what is the meaning of lamellar corneal transplant? So lamellar means that whole of the cornea is not replaced. So please remember, let's say we have the 5 layers of cornea. Okay, so we have epithelium, below that we have basement membrane, then we have stroma, followed by Duas membrane, followed by Descemet membrane, and followed by endothelium. Okay, so let's say if the opacity or any deposition is there in the anterior stromal part only. Okay, so my opacity is, my scar is there in the anterior stromal part only. Okay, so what I do is I remove only anterior half of the cornea. Okay, so I remove only anterior half of the cornea and replace it with a new anterior half. So I replace it with a clear new anterior half. Okay, so this is called anterior lamellar corneal transplant. So lamellar means a part of the cornea is replaced by a new part. Okay, so this surgery, which is the anterior lamellar corneal transplant, sometimes they ask where we do. Okay, so when the scar is there in the anterior part. Okay, when the scar is there in the anterior stromal region, or the second indication is, let's say there is a stromal dystrophy. Okay, or let's say there is the patient having a keratoconus. Okay, so these are the indications of doing lamellar corneal transplant. Okay, now sometimes they ask what are the different types of lamellar corneal transplant. Now remember, in anterior lamellar corneal transplants you have to remember two names. One is DALK. Okay, so D means deep, anterior, lamellar keratoplasty. Okay, and the other is ALTK. So ALTK means anterior, lamellar, therapeutic, keratoplasty. Okay, K goes with the keratoplasty. So deep anterior lamellar keratoplasty or anterior lamellar therapeutic keratoplasty. So what is the difference if more than half of the stroma is removed? Okay, so if the opacity is at the level which is deep stromal, then we do DALK, and if the opacity is at superficial level, okay, superficial stroma, then we do anterior lamellar therapeutic keratoplasty. Okay, then we come to the posterior lamellar corneal transplant. So let's say we have the various layers of cornea, and here our pathology is there in the endothelium or in the Descemet membrane. Okay, so in these cases what I do is I remove only the posterior part of the cornea. Okay, so only the posterior part of the cornea is replaced. Okay, so this is called posterior lamellar corneal transplant. So we have an anterior lamellar corneal transplant and we have a posterior lamellar corneal transplant. Now what are the indications of doing posterior lamellar corneal transplant? So any disease where the endothelium or Descemet membrane is diseased. So examples are Fuchs dystrophy. We have heard about the Fuchs dystrophy where we have diseased endothelium. Okay, so we may have gutta in the endothelium, or we can have the basically decreased endothelial count. So these are the Fuchs dystrophy. Here we can do a endothelial transplant. The second is in newborns we can have another type of endothelial dystrophy which is called CHED. So CHED means congenital hereditary endothelial dystrophy. Okay, we have Fuchs dystrophy and we have congenital hereditary endothelial dystrophy. Here we can do a posterior lamellar transplant. Remember, sometimes even after intraocular surgery we can have a decrease in the specular count. So our intraocular surgery with age or with uveitis, we can have decreased count of the endothelium. In these cases, what happens is, because the endothelium is responsible for the dehydration of the cornea, so if the endothelium is diseased, progressively you can get corneal edema and then followed by blurring of vision. So this type of disease is called bullous keratopathy. So with time, bullas basically start forming in the subepithelial region. So how the bullas are there? So like this. Remember, the bullas are there in the subepithelial region, okay? But the problem is there in the endothelium, okay? So this is sometimes asked that why the bullous keratopathy you do a posterior lamellar transplant. The reason is that basically our endothelium is diseased, which causes subepithelial bulla, okay? So the third indication I write here, it is pseudophakic or aphakic bullous keratopathy, okay? So this is the various indications of posterior lamellar transplants. And what are the various types? So these are, remember, two types. One is DSEC, and the other one is DMAC. Okay, so DSEC is Descemet stripping automated endothelial keratoplasty. I repeat, D is Descemet, S is stripping, A is automated, E is endothelial, K means keratoplasty, and DMAC is Descemet membrane endothelial keratoplasty. Okay, so basically the difference is the technique through which we do these two types of surgery. You do not have to go into the detail is what is DSEC and what is DMAC at the UG level, but these are the various type of posterior lamellar corneal transplants that we do in the patient. Now, sometimes they ask is what are the contraindications of doing a corneal transplant. So remember, this is the list which I have given. Just we read out this. So one is death from any CNS disease of unknown cause. The second is Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Third is subacute sclerosing panencephalitis. Fourth is congenital rubella. Fifth is Reye's syndrome. Sixth is active leukemia and active disseminated lymphoma. Remember, a treated leukemia or treated lymphoma is not a contraindication, but an active leukemia, the patient is on chemotherapy, this is a contraindication. Then patients who are HIV or those who are at high risk of HIV. Hepatitis B patients or hepatitis C patients. Then what are the various ocular contraindications? So the ocular contraindications are retinoblastoma, any malignant tumors of the anterior segment, okay? So you may have iris melanoma, or you may have any retinoblastoma which has come into the anterior part. So all these are the contraindications of corneal transplant. Second is any active ocular infection. Let's say the patient was suffering from herpes zoster, okay, or if the patient is having herpes simplex keratitis, or the patient is having a corneal ulcer. So these are the contraindications. Then prior LASIK procedures is also considered as contraindication. The reason is that in LASIK procedures, what we do is we change the shape of the cornea. So the keratometry that now comes in the donor cornea would be different. You get my point? Remember, in LASIK procedures, we either flatten or steepen the corneal curvature. So we have changed the corneal curvature, and if I put this cornea into another patient, then this change of curvature of the cornea may cause an unexpected refractive error in that patient. Okay, so this is a contraindication. Okay, so next is, what are eye banks? So basically, eye banks are government approved places where we can store the eyeball or the corneal tissue which we have taken after the death of the patient. So these are government approved centers. Okay, it does not mean that these are only in the government hospitals. If the government allows, it can be there in the private hospital as well, but it has to be government approved. Okay, now which corneas are good donor corneas? Okay, so let's say if I have to replace a cornea in a patient, what are the various criterias which I look in the donor cornea? So the first one is criteria is age. Okay, so more the age of the cornea, the less are the chances that it would be a great cornea. Okay, so the quality of cornea decreases with age. The second important is specular count. So specular count means the endothelial count. Okay, so if the endothelial count is decreased, it can be because of any intraocular surgery, or it can be through any dystrophy. So if there is a decrease in the specular count, okay, so let's say if it is less than 1500, so if it is less than 1500, we do not consider as it, this cornea as a good cornea. So it should be on a higher side. The more it is, the better it is. The third is Descemet membrane folds. Okay, so Descemet membrane folds, I told you Descemet membrane is the layer which is just above the endothelium. If there are Descemet membrane folds, it tells that the cornea, maybe during the transportation, maybe during the retrieval, or in the donor cornea, it's in the patient itself, maybe he may have undergone a intraocular surgery. So the quality of cornea is not good in that cases. The last but not the least is haze. So this haze, corneal haze, can be there because of the epithelium, or it can be because of the stromal haze also. So more is the corneal haze, less is the suitability of the cornea for giving a corneal transplant. Now, this is the question which is usually asked: what are the various storage medias? So after, let's say, I retrieve a cornea, usually within 48 hours, we try to put it in a patient. But let's say if the patient availability is not there, or the patient or the cornea is retrieved from any other place and now it has to be stored. So for this, we can have various type of storage media. So remember, for short term, we can remove the whole eyeball and we can put it in moist chamber. Okay, so there is a moist chamber and here we put the whole eyeball. For this, we have to use it within 48 hours. For intermediate term, let's say I have to use it from 48 hours to 1 week time. We have other medias like MK medias. Okay, the other one is Optisol, Usol, Ksol. So in these media, you can put the eye for even 7 days. Okay, so there are various constituents which basically preserve the cornea. The MK, you have to use it within 3 to 4 days. With the Optisol, Usol and Ksol, you can even keep it for 7 days. Sometimes if you have to preserve the cornea for long duration, maybe months or years together, then you can use cryopreservation or you can use organ culture technique. Okay, so these are the various storage medias of penetrating keratoplasty. Now the next question they ask is, let's say I have put the cornea in a new patient, but this cornea is now failing. Okay, so the body is rejecting the graft. So what can be the signs of graft failure? Now remember, the signs of graft failure are, first thing is you have to see that the patient may have a corneal edema. Okay, then he may have new vascularization that comes in over the donor cornea. The third thing you have to see is persistent epithelial defect. Okay, so these are the initial signs of the graft failure. Sometimes they asked about two more things. One is case dots. So what is case dots? So case dots are in your subepithelium region, there are deposits that are formed. Okay, so these are the deposits in the subepithelial region which are indicating of a graft failure. Then the next is Kodot's line. Okay, Kodot's line. So what is Kodot's line? So in your endothelium, you can have new rejection lines that grow. So remember, case dots are there in the epithelium and Kodot's line is there in the endothelium. Okay, so this is the difference between the case dots and the Kodot's line. Remember, whenever there is a graft failure, initially you can treat these patients with the intravenous methyl prednisolone. Okay, so IV methyl prednisolone can be given as a treatment in the patients of graft failure. Remember, it is a delayed type of hypersensitivity reaction. Okay, so I told you it is intravenous methyl prednisolone which we can give to these patients. Now, another question they ask is most common cause of infection in post-penetrating keratoplasty patients. So the most common cause is staph epidermidis. Okay. Now some famous personalities which are associated with organ donation, these are Aishwarya Rai Bachchan, Amitabh Bachchan, Gautam Gambhir, Hrithik Roshan, Amir Khan, R. Madhavan. So remember, now the organ donation is not a taboo. We all as medicos should promote the organ donation, eye donation, because it can give life to the patient. Okay, so we all should basically encourage our relatives to basically go for organ donation after death, and even the religious organizations are now promoting the organ donation. Remember, another question that is asked is eye donation fortnight. So remember, eye donation fortnight is celebrated from 25th of August to 8th of September. So not only the cornea can be transplanted from the eye, the sclera can also be transplanted. Remember, we can use sclera when there is a let's say scleral melting. You may have a staphyloma or even in some drainage devices that we use, let's say Ahmed glaucoma valve, here to cover the plate, there also we can use sclera. Then, as you know, in chemical injury, there can be limbus stem cell deficiency. So this limbus stem cells can be also taken from the cadaveric eye and then it can be transplanted. Okay, so these are some important points regarding the corneal transplant. Okay, so please revise it also. If you have any doubts, you can put it in the comment section. So to pledge eye donation, what you have to do, you have to basically register yourself in an eye bank. So you can go in an eye bank or just call them even after death and tell them the history of the patient, and these people would come, take the eye, take a sample of blood also for the testing, and they would give you the certificate. Now the eye banks are giving the pre-existing cards also, okay, for those patients who pledge eye donation after death. So basically, hope you would have liked the session. I am Dr. Vineet Sehgal and you can see me on the Unacademy Telegram app. This is our link, that is me at the Unacademy NEET PG. Okay, you can also follow me in the Unacademy Educator list. We are going ahead with our foundation batch. This is the link for that. You can get a 10% discount by using my referral code, that is Dr. Vineet 10. Okay, and how to subscribe for Plus? You go to the Unacademy app, you type the NEET PG subscription, you have various options, you have EMI options also, and you can pay it there. And right now our foundation batch course has started from 18th June and it would end in November. So please register there with my coupon code, that is Dr. Vineet 10. Thank you for watching the session. Let's crack it.